when you decide, you debated it and you've taken a decision, just go ahead and do it. Don't go back on a decision, then it's not a decision. So whenever a decision is made, that is when you implement it, it's called a decision. So don't procrastinate on a decision.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Networking and Beyond. Today we have with us the person who's known as the money man of BNI, Mr. Joseph Thomas. He is known for being the youngest GM of the Aditya Birla Group. He also runs a top-level management hiring company called Aljiva. He's been in BNI for 12 years and is currently serving as a senior DC. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome this amazing person onto our episode. Good afternoon, Mr. Joseph.
Good afternoon to you, Lalit.
Welcome to Networking and Beyond. It's really nice to have you here. How does it feel for you to be here?
It's so nice. It's on a Saturday afternoon. It's a good time to come.
That's great, sir. Sir, you've been in BNI for quite some time now. You've been in business for a few decades now. And we all know that you've been very successful in your own stints. But I want to know, what was your background like in terms of your upbringing, your education and your initial career?
All right, good. Yeah, I come from a defense background, and so I studied across the country. I've been in Bangalore now for about 25 plus years, married, got two daughters. My elder one is settled after marriage in Delhi. My younger one is doing her ACCA, and she's here with me.
So going back to the past, what was your education like?
Oh, I did, in fact, being a gypsy, I decided to stay put in Pune for quite some years.
Okay.
So a good amount of my education was in Pune, so from my 9th standard upwards. And then I finished with my master's from Symbiosis. I'm an alumni of Symbiosis, class of 1987.
Okay.
Yeah, that was...
So what happened after Symbiosis? Now, Symbiosis is one of the most revered institutes across the country. Yeah. And what happened after that? How did your career start off?
Well, I was picked up from the campus. Xerox picked me up. So I had a short stint of about 3 years with them. And then joined the Aditya Birla Group. And that was when my cement career took off from there.
Okay.
I never looked back. So yeah, and I was instrumental in the first initial team of launching Birla White in the country. So I was fortunate to be with them. And very soon, in about a year's time, I got elevated to take on the Grey Cement unit, which is much larger operations. So I was handling the southern operations with the Aditya Birla, and I was the one who actually launched Birla Super in the country. The first time 53 grade was launched.
Okay. Can you tell us a little more about that?
All right. See, that is a time when cement was actually very difficult to sell because oversupply and things like that. And we had inherited a certain amount of issues with the company and the product. Not the product, basically in the market. So I can't get into those details of... but to overcome that, when I saw the success of Birla White, that was the first time the name Birla was attached to a product.
Okay.
Never before that, Birla's White was the Birla name attached.
Okay.
So with a lot of reluctance, it was then Aditya Birla who gave and said, okay. So I knew that in India that the name Birla or Tata was, it's synonymous with the big boys. So I said, hey, you know what? Can we just can we introduce a bigger grade of cement, which is earlier all the while we had 43. The country only had 43. So 53 was a brainchild, and Birla Super, the name reattached because we had success in Birla White. So that's how that's still today one of the leading cement brands.
Wow, that's fantastic. And it looks like you were somebody who was a go-getter from the initial days, from your career in from your studies in Symbiosis to your initial stint in Aditya Birla Group. Yeah. So one of the thing is, what were some of the takeaways you've had working in that specific company?
In Birla's, yeah. So if you're looking at specific, I worked with the ACC and with Birla, so both are the management style is quite different. So if you ask me what was my takeaway with the Birlas, one is that it teaches you prudent management. Okay. Second is financial control and the importance of controlling your outstandings. And the most important thing which you learned there was the takeaway for me was the deep interaction with the market.
Okay.
So you become a general manager. You kind of you're a boss. You don't move out of your office. It really doesn't work. So we believe that you're down there meeting the dealer, shaking hands, having a cup of tea with them. That is something which we learned. Okay, great take.
That's great, sir. So you said about being a general manager. So that was one of the things that you were also appointed as very quickly. So how did that transition happen? Because again, you were a very young person in there. Was there any challenges? And you were one of the youngest GMs.
Yeah.
So how did that go about?
Yeah, actually, I was the youngest GM in the group.
That's nice.
Yeah, so typically you would have hit a GM only after 50, 55. I hit it in my 30s. So basically, I think, if I can think so, is that all through my life, from school to college, for some reason I was being selected for some leadership and always push me in the front. And so it kind of leadership was something which was growing in me on a regular basis. Second, I was very fortunate right from Xerox. From the third year of my career, I was holding a unit head position. So, which means, the function may be same, but then the responsibility and authority is something different. You have a solid line reporting to a general manager in the corporate office, but you also have a dotted line reporting to the super bosses. So what happens here is that you learn a lot from them on a very close quarter. So when you learn these things and when you're interacting with the very senior managers, you kind of sponge on it. And I was pretty good in picking up those things and trying and implementing it. So yeah, that kind of positioned me always as a person who could keep moving forward. The company felt that. So maybe that was the reason I moved up.
And like you said, sir, it's very important for an individual to keep themselves surrounded with the right kind of people.
I would completely endorse that.
And because each one of us are a sponge, we can either absorb the positive or the negative, but at the end of the day, we're a sponge. And I think that's some good takeaway for a lot of people who are watching, who want growth. Surround yourself with good people. So you, within those 20 years of experience that you've had, being a GM, you've had certain responsibilities. You've tasted a success by being one of the youngest. What was the thinking that you had at the end of these years?
Then I was thinking in the sense, I think.
So I mean, like you had a transition. You wanted to get into your own business.
Oh, that way.
What was the change?
All right.
What was the catalyst?
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I went on to becoming the vice president and so on and so forth. Now, what had happened is, there were two things. One, why did I start off into my own venture? I was doing very well in the corporate. Even my memories are really, really fond. If somebody asked me the other day, would you go back if you have to do it all over again? Will you do it? I said, absolutely.
Awesome.
Because I enjoyed every minute of my career. Now, what had happened, I've already reached the vice president position. So, going forward, there are not too many positions left for me, and I was pretty young. What do I do? Do I keep doing the same thing for the rest of my life? So that was a bit downer. That was point number one. Point number two was I was also one of those troubleshooters who was selected whenever there's an issue in any region. So South, we had kind of recovered the market. North was reeling through a real depression. So that I knew the writing on the wall was that, buddy, your next transfer is to the North. I wasn't too keen about North. For the simple reason I had to look at UP, Madhya Pradesh, Haryana, West Bengal and all of that. So that was not a region which I was looking forward to be working and spending the rest of my life. I always believe that you need to have, success is also when you also enjoy your life. You need to have something to enjoy it. What's the point in just, just making money or whatever. And third, that was another compelling reason where I definitely wanted to maintain a good lifestyle, which I was enjoying in Bangalore. And the third reason, another very compelling reason, is I knew that the 2000 story was unfolding. The year 2000 story was unfolding. India was poised to be a superpower. So I knew that India has a lot of potential and there's so much that one can do. And I said, okay, let me also take a piece of the action. So that was the three compelling reasons which I made.
I think once you start growing, it's very important. So, recently I was attending a training program for business, and the person who was coaching said that once you start climbing the peak of your career, it's not the end, but the start of a new beginning.
Absolutely.
And you got to start as a fresher, and that gives you that energy to go again.
Absolutely.
So you in your business, can you tell us a little bit about your business? What do you do? In a very quick jiffy for our viewers.
Yeah, okay. So I have a HR strategic firm. We have 7 divisions in it. One of them happens to be, leadership hiring and talent acquisition. So we have executive coaching, then we have compliance, we have, we have outplacement and so on and so forth. So about 7 divisions. So, and in the leadership hiring, we have been doing fairly well amongst the Indian leadership hiring companies. So, Times of India at a survey did a few years back found us to be in the top 10 those days. I don't know where I stand today, but our company was recognized as one of the better organizations amongst the Indian. The MNCs are still ruling the roost. They're doing phenomenally well. I was wanting to just bite at the heels and see how we can do something. So that's the business. I also have a real estate wing where I'm a developer. So this is what I do.
Fantastic, sir. Sir, now you said you're into strategic leadership hiring. Now, as a company, as a firm, I want to know what should be a business's approach in terms of hiring and retaining very good specific leadership kind of talent.
See, the approach should be basically, I think you need to give a lot of autonomy. I mean, you're looking at how to hire good people or...
Yeah, how to hire good people, how to hire good leaders.
See, actually...
What do you look for?
That's, today, that's the biggest problem that the country is facing today, let me tell you. The common problem you're having is you're not getting the kind of quality that you're looking for. Second thing that the companies are facing today is they're not building enough pipelines for the next thing to happen. Third problem that they're facing is the long gestation period in hiring, and and then also inappropriate hiring methods. So these are some of those inherent problems that the corporate is facing today. So we as a company which is now in leadership hiring for the last 17 years, we understood this way back, and I always said that if I can solve somebody else's problem, then I have business. I can't be going and selling my solutions otherwise. So if you have a problem, so if you got a 1 lakh rupee problem, I can earn 1 lakh. You got a million dollar problem, that's how you become a millionaire. So we have found ways to overcome all these issues, and so hence the leadership hiring is doing pretty well. And that's why companies like 3M, GE, or the Tata Power, Tata Sons, the Adani Group, you name it. Most of them are retaining us for the same reason, because I think we bring that kind of value.
Fantastic, sir. Sir, now when you look at a leader, you've been in various leadership roles. On a very personal front, I want to ask, when you look at another person, what are some of the traits that you are looking for in a person for them to be an effective leader?
An effective leader, I think, first and foremost, I think he needs the clarity in communication. Second, so that how do you address a problem, communicate the problem, and solve the problem. Communication is very, very important. 2 is you need also, a leader should be, a person who can think out of the box, who is a problem solver, who has got a lot of, he should have emotional stability. All right. And delegation and delegating these are the kind of leadership qualities that one should have.
Very true. I mean, without delegation, and sometimes there are leaders who want to hog the entire thing, and they want to be the piece of action. I don't think a leader is that person, right? So somebody who helps other people become much more effective and probably become leaders is a leader.
Yeah, actually, when you make more leaders, you're a better leader.
Better leader, fantastic.
Otherwise, you're containing yourself. Your success is to that extent, which is you. You have 5 such people. It's much more.
Much more, correct. Sir, very interesting point in my previous question. You said that apart from this, you're also doing a real estate wing as your second business. Now, how did that start, and what do you do exactly there?
All right. As you know, I have been in the cement. So cement and real estate goes hand in glove.
Hand in hand, yeah.
So I have been associated with a group of friends who are developers when I was working. So I was part of them. So because I couldn't be on board with them, but then I was investing with them. So I had a ringside action on the entire development. So through the years that was going on, and when I started off on my own, I started my own company called Stonebridge Estates, and the latest development project that we have right now is in Yelahanga. It's an 18-acre gated community. So it's one of its kind in the country, in Bangalore today. In 18 acres, we only have 72 homes. That's the first of its kind.
Okay.
It's for lifestyle living. So what we have done is we roped in some of the best architects. So we have Thomas Associate who did the layout. We have a senior architect from Hadi Tharyani of Germany who did the clubhouse design. And then we brought in Arcop of Canada to do the villas. So it's a good combination, a beautiful project. We kind of sold out most of it. We still have a few properties left, very reasonably priced, but sold on word of mouth and known people because we're having a good community there. So that's my latest.
Okay, sir. Here, how did it? Like you said, you told me how it started. Now, what is the next thing that you're looking for? Is there a new project that you have, a dream project or something like that?
Yeah. So one, I would say that this pandemic has created a new world altogether. It's a complete new world order right now, and that has opened up unimaginable opportunities. So what we had earlier, we had offices across the country and things like that, which we had consolidated at some point because it was not required. It was more of today we're going back into that expansion spree because of this virtual world. All right. So we have plans of having representations in about 25 cities in the country and about 5 overseas. So that's the plan for the next 2 years. Expansion, all thanks to virtual world. If it hadn't been for the virtual world, none of this could have happened. So that's something which that's the expansion program. Yeah. And I'm also toying with an idea of getting into an e-commerce platform.
Okay.
Of getting stuff which are famous and exclusive. So that's in the background right now. It's still on the drawing board. Let's see how it goes.
That's nice, sir. And of course, expansion also means that you're healthy, you're doing well, and now it's so nice to see that your vision from being in the Aditya Birla Group, now you moved on to this and doing fantastic. So I think it gives somebody like me a lot of inspiration to take upon from somebody like you. So thank you for that. Moving on, sir, I want to know that BNI has been one area of channel that you've been a part of.
Yeah.
What was the story behind your BNI? Like, who introduced you to this concept? How did it all start?
Okay, so there was this meeting happening in Royal Orchid, and I stay in Diamond District, which is just a compound away. And I got a call from a friend of mine and said, hey, there's something like this happening. And I was very skeptical about it. And so I kind of, when they saw it, and then I realized that was a great platform to be in.
Sir, this was in which year that you...
It's about 12 years back.
12 years back. Now that's literally like having a PhD in BNI. Yeah. You've also served in various leadership roles in BNI. Yeah. And what are some of the learnings that you had from BNI? So some of the takeaways that you've gotten from BNI?
Takeaways from BNI is, I think the greatest takeaway is that the potential of BNI is limitless. And the tragedy is that none of us are really tapping into that opportunity, not seeing the opportunity the way it needs to be seen. So I think that's one thing that BNI is. If you really want to harness BNI, sky's the limit.
Okay. One suggestion for anybody new in BNI to do. This is the thing to do. One suggestion.
One suggestion: be extremely helpful.
Be
helpful. Be out there to help people, and you'll get help.
Fantastic. I think that's the philosophy of BNI, right? Givers gain, and that's the only way you'll grow. So now we've spoken about BNI. We've spoken a bit about business. I want to know one success story from your BNI.
One success story, as it's this...
The top of the list.
Top of the list, my success story is this 18-acre project thanks to BNI, where my partner, I've got a partner on board for this is from BNI, and thanks to BNI. And with her contact is where we went into a JD for this 18-acre project. So I think you're talking about a 120 crore project. So that's a big story.
That's a big story, true. So, what are some of the other interests you have apart from business and whatever things you're doing? Any interests?
Interests outside of business?
Business,
and,
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Just usually.
All right. Okay. Outside of business, I play golf. I love to play. I've been always an outdoor person. So second, I love clubs. So I do a lot of clubbing. I have membership to most of the good clubs in the country. That is something which I do, and I love ballroom dancing. So whenever I get a chance to do ballroom, those are the three things I do.
Wow, that's interesting. How do you manage it in time? I mean, whenever you get time, or is there any specific
I
routine
find
you
time.
follow?
As I said right in the beginning, I don't believe in slogging my life out. There has to be a quality in life. So I do take time out. And if something is really not happening at this point, I'm not going to fret over it. I'll still continue to do what I have to and solve it some other day.
That's a nice way to deal with things. And sir, again, all of this comes with experience, right? You can't just start off like this. And for a lot of people, it comes with the understanding of themselves. And some call it spirituality. Do you believe in spirituality, and what's your take on it?
I'm a huge believer in spirituality. I mean, it takes a lot of my time there. I spend a lot of my time for the simple reason I believe that we are all spirits in a human body, and every religion teaches you accordingly. So we are here on this world on a temporary basis. So nothing you see here is yours. You can hold on to it for some time as long as you want it. You got to leave it back and go. So I spend a lot of time deep diving into spirituality and practicing it to that extent.
Practicing it, what practices do you do?
See, the thing is, the moment you realize that tomorrow is not yours and the next breath is not yours, it's a gift. So what do you do while you are here? And secondly, are you in this world by accident? I don't think so. No. There's a purpose. So what is that purpose? So if you seek the purpose, the spirituality comes into place.
Fantastic. And it's like the anchor to the ship, right? You can't see it, but you can only feel it when it comes into play.
All I'm saying is, all that you see here is Maya. It's okay. Nothing is real. Nothing. It's just a Maya. We can enjoy it as long as we have. We may not even enjoy it. So it depends on how, in that little journey that you have on this earth, how are you using it? Are you using it for selfish needs or whatever, just for some gratification, or are you impacting more? Are you able to leave value? Yeah. If there is a drop of tear that comes, how many hands come to wipe it? Yeah. I mean, that's when you know you've lived a life.
Yeah, correct. Very true. And when you start impacting people and when you start giving, I think giving itself is where your spirituality starts, and that's the way to go. And people should find a way to anchor their purpose, find their purpose and find their true calling.
Absolutely.
And that's the only way to go. So now, where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years? Because every entrepreneur has a vision, and because without that vision, there's no purpose again attached to it, there's no direction. So what is your next thing? What is your next stint in the next 5 to 10 years?
Simple. I would like to retire in the next 5 years' time. So if I have to retire in the next 5 to 7 years, I would like to build some kind of a valuation for this company. And the very reason what I'm doing is to build that kind of valuation. So then I could look at some kind of a merger or an acquisition at that point. And that's a nice time to exit.
Sir, so we come to the end of this segment where we've discussed business, we've discussed about your life, and we've discussed about BNI. We move on to the fun element, the fun segment of Rapid Fire. Are you excited for this one?
Sure, it sounds good.
Okay, so my first question to you is, what motivates you to get out of bed every day in the morning?
Oh, good. 3 things. One is the autonomy, that, I'm on my own and I can do what I can do. 2, I would say, is expertise or mastery. Then how can I better myself today? That's something which is. And the third is purpose. Okay. How would you impact, how is your work going to impact others and the society? So these 3 are very powerful reasons for me to get out of bed and do something.
That's nice. That's a nice answer. Name another business profession you wouldn't mind getting into.
As I said, I would love to get, as I'm toying with the idea of e-commerce.
E-commerce. Name 3 business leaders you would want to have a discussion over dinner.
3 business leaders. I would love to sit with Richard Branson. I would love to have breakfast with Elon Musk. I mean, these are the 2 that comes top of my mind, and then maybe Sushma for diversity and inclusion.
Okay.
So these are the 3 people that come to my mind.
Good answer. Again, Elon Musk tops the international charts. Every single BNI member has said Elon Musk's
Oh my
name.
God! Really? Because you see, he's got the courage and the grit to take on the future.
Yeah, and he's doing the unthinkable. Like the life outside Earth was never a part of even our thinking, and today it looks as close as possible because of Elon Musk.
And even if you look at Richard Branson, he's going ahead, a few years ahead.
Correct.
Something which you can learn from him.
Okay, sir, if you were given $1 million, what would you do with it?
That's a lot of money. So if you have to do $1 million, I think I would try and clear off all my debts. Okay, that's be one. Second, I would create an emergency fund. Third, probably invest a lot of that into long term. All right, into long term investments. And fourth, I would say, maybe initial payment for your dream house.
That's nice. What are some of the most inspirational books if you read? If not videos that you can recommend, if not videos that you've watched that you can recommend.
Oh yeah, books. Awaken the Giant Within by Anthony Robbins. I think that's a great book.
Yeah.
Stephen Covey's 7 Habits
of highly
Effective,
successful
people. I think that's a fantastic book. Wings of Fire.
APJ Abdul Kalam.
Abdul Kalam. His is a fantastic book to read. 3. Who else? I think Vincent Peale for The Power of Positive Thinking. I think that's another book one should read.
I think all these 4 books are books that I've read and beautiful books, and I think
they're great books.
Great books, really great books to start off with, especially if people don't read books. If you authored a book, what would you call it?
My God. Okay. If I authored a book, what would I call it? I would say today, looking at today's problems, I'll say, the book will be How to Deal with Loneliness and Unlock the Potential Within.
Very interesting. And I also think it's a very millennial problem that we are facing.
It's a millennial problem, that's what I'm thinking.
Good thought on that. What's the best advice you've ever got?
The best advice I ever got was from a gentleman called Anand Rathi. He was my boss. You must have heard of Rathi Associates. So his advice is, when you take a decision, when you decide, you debated it and you've taken a decision, just go ahead and do it. Don't go back on a decision, then it's not a decision. So whenever a decision is made, that is when you implement it, it's called a decision. So don't procrastinate on a decision.
Great advice, especially for an entrepreneur, somebody who's aspiring for big things. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Nice. Indoor or outdoor?
Both. I've been a sports person right from school days.
Superb. If you could teach one subject in school, what would it be?
The subject which I would like to teach people would be, which is not taught in schools, is how to manage personal finances. And one more, which I would teach now that I'm in BNI, is the power of networking. These are 2 things which I would want to.
I think 2 crucial subjects that nobody teaches you. What's your favorite movie of all time?
Favorite movie all time, Godfather.
Godfather. What was your worst subject in school?
It's very easy. Chemistry and maths.
I think we're on the same lines with that. Those were horrible days. What would you do on a rainy day?
Oh, rainy day, I would fix myself a good drink, listen to some music, put my leg up and listen to the patter of the rain. That's what I'll do.
Fantastic. Last question. If you could make a documentary about anything, what would it be?
A documentary about anything. I would, if that's the book I'm writing, I would do a documentary on the same subject.
Now you're building a sales funnel right there about that too. Yeah, I mean that's nice. I think
Yeah.
it'll complement both
It'll
of them.
complement both, yeah.
Yes. Sir, thank you so much for coming on this podcast. We come to the end of this podcast. I personally have had such amazing takeaways from this podcast. And one of the takeaways is the importance of surrounding yourself with the right kind of people because you are like a sponge. And what you absorb becomes your personality inevitably. And so put yourself and surround yourself with good people.
That's absolutely right. See, Lalit, it's like this. You find there are two kinds of people. There are people who like to sponge and take it. There are others who got Teflon coating. So nothing gets in. And so that's a tragedy.
Very true. The second one is enjoy your work every single point of time because it's not about working only hard and success is beyond that. There's more to just working hard. So enjoy every moment of work, every moment of life, and go in the flow. That's something that I understood because, like, no matter where you are, you can be whatever it is. You still take time to play your golf, and that gives you that refresh button. My third one is a leader is successful only when he's able to create more leaders.
More leaders, yeah.
And if you don't have that ability, then you're not a leader. You're just a person who can do great work, but you cannot be a great leader.
You're just trying to be a boss.
Boss, that's about it. So these are my three takeaways for this fantastic podcast, sir. Thank you so much for coming, and I think it's of great value. How does it feel, sir?
It's amazing. I didn't think that it will go off so well. You're so good in asking the right questions, kind of jogs you to think. And I think it's been a fantastic session. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for calling me and to be part of this program.
Thank you so much, sir. And it's been great. Looking forward for more such insights and, looking forward to getting you on another episode of this podcast. Thank you so much. So viewers, you know what to do. For more such amazing podcasts, please make sure you subscribe, you like, share, and comment below. We'd love to know what you feel about this podcast. Thank you so much. See you soon.
Thank you.